Hello P6, we have made it to Friday, the end of the week at last. So today for our literacy, let's think about the different activities that make up your tasks today. To start off with, why don't you get underway with your phonics? This week we've been looking at the F sound. Why don't you have a go then at today's dictation? There are 2 levels there for you to choose from, so think about which words you were sorting this week and go and have a go at your dictation. Also today, why don't you do a little bit more on your bug club, or if you've already finished this week's bug club book, why don't you go and read your own book? Please try to read for at least 15 minutes every day. Now, today's main activity is all to do with something called contractions. We've looked at contractions further down the school. Let's take a moment to revise what contractions are. Contractions are created when we join 2 words together. So instead of saying the words is not, then what we might do is we might put those 2 words together into isn't. So instead of saying he is not allowed to play football, we might say he isn't allowed to play football. Now, we use contractions all the time, and if you think about what we were reading this week, so for example, lots of you were reading the Martian Comes to Stay comprehension, there were lots of contractions within our story. We had words, for example, like they've gone, they have gone, who's gone, who has gone. I didn't think of that. I did not think of that. When we use contractions, we'll see that there is an apostrophe in the word. And the apostrophe goes where the letters are that have been left out. We might be leaving out one letter. Did not, D-I-D-N-O-T. We're leaving out just the letter O when we write didn't. But instead of putting in the O, we put the apostrophe up nice and high. Sometimes it'll be one letter that we've left out. Sometimes it might be more than one. For example, in the word they've taken off and left me. They have taken off. They have. We've left out the H and the A of have and put an apostrophe in instead. Now, on the website, we have given you some more examples of different contractions for you to have a look at. And we've also reminded you that not every word follows the rules. There were some more awkward contractions in the English language. Words like won't. Won't means will not. He won't be allowed to go. He will not be allowed to go. Some contractions are a little bit more awkward. Before you begin today's written task, go and click on the BBC Bite Size Guide, and there are some little videos and challenges within it. So go and have a go at that. And then you'll be ready for your written activity. Now, the written activity is short. There are 2 choices. If you choose to do the higher level task, your higher level task looks like this one, then you have got some examples of contractions. So the 2 original words and the contraction beside it. And you've got some sentences to write out on a separate page. And instead of the words in bold type, put in a contraction instead. In part B, you've been given 15 more examples of 2 separate words. Can you contract those into one word? And then in part C, do it the other way around. You've been given 3 contractions, turn them back into 2 separate words. If you choose to do the lower level task, well, we've already looked at some of them for you. So in number 1, if it says Brian says he is too busy to play, then we could change he is to he's, H-E apostrophe S. Or in number 10, the apples are not quite ripe. I could take the words are not and change it into aren't. The pears aren't quite ripe. In part A, if you're doing the lower level challenge, you need to copy out your sentences and swap the 2 words for a contraction. In part B, same idea, 2 words, change it into a contraction. So instead of they are, it would become they're. And in part C, you've got a contraction, change it back into 2 words. Now that activity is quite short because what we would then like you to do, P6, is head over to our Newsdesk. You might remember that about 2 weeks ago, we gave you a challenge to go and leave a comment on the Mission to Mars story, all about the Perseverance robot that had landed on Mars and all the data that it was sending back to Earth. When we talked to the people at Newsdesk, they said, oh my goodness, they had so many hits from people in Brooklands that day, and lots of you left wonderful comments. So today we would love you to head back to Newsdesk and write a comment about at least one story today. Now, the link to get onto Newsdesk is on the webpage. Click on it. You'll then need to use your username and your password that you would normally use in school. Now, your username is your first initial and your surname, and then there are 3 digits after it. If you can't remember what your username is, email your teacher. And for most of you, your password has been reset to winter, lowercase, 2021. Kenya, yours is a little bit different, winter 21. But for everybody else, your username is your own. Password should be winter 2021. Log into Newsdesk. If you have any difficulties doing that, please email your teacher. Once you're into Newsdesk, I would love you to go and find a story. It might be on the front page, still it might not be, or go into the news bank that's called The Most Precious Thing We Have. And this story is all to do with water and how we can try to look after the water supply that we have without wasting it. What can we do to preserve that water supply? So go and have a read through the story that's called The Most Precious Thing We Have. And then underneath that story, there are some activities for you to have a go at. And then to finish off, we would love you to write a comment based on that story. Don't forget to justify whatever your opinion is. So use good language. Think about what it is you're writing, and don't forget, please, to check your spelling and punctuation. If you make a really good comment, you never know, your comment might appear on the front page of Newsdesk. That's where only the very best comments get put. I wonder, could we see your comment there by the end of tomorrow? For your final challenge, why don't you head back over to Education City and do some Play Live Words. More amazing scores this week, P6. Oh my goodness. At the minute, at the time of me filming this, the top 3 are Jude, Olivia and Abby. But it is very close just behind them. Jadal is catching up so close. Oh my goodness. Jacob and Ivan, Laurie, Riley, Colin, Lucy. At the minute, they make up the rest of the top 10. I wonder by the end of this week who will be our champion and who else will be in our top 10. So head on over to Education City and see what you can do about that. Can you change the order on the leaderboard? You'll never know if you don't try. So go and challenge yourself, see what you can do. No matter what, P6, do your very best today and then have a really lovely weekend. Bye.